Hiya! For anyone who might not have seen this channel before, I am Lux. Other people call me Mozilla Fennekin, and I've been a Pokemon fan for about 15 years now. And this is the first generation of Pokemon that I am willingly skipping. I'm sorry, I shouldn't put it that way. I'm not skipping the entire generation, because we haven't seen the entire generation yet. But I am skipping the mainline games. The first mainline games in ever. I'm not playing Sword and Shield, because there are lots of things that I've seen from Sword and Shield that I simply don't like. The thing is, my views and opinions on the Pokemon series right now are not even all that unique. I feel like I'm someone who agrees with lots of the discourse that is within the community right now, but this discourse is also shrouded in tons and tons of misinformation. There are so many things that people just don't understand, or I feel are wrong about in the wrong ways. Not that I think I'm better than anyone, and also I realize I said wrong in the wrong ways. Well, I meant mad in the wrong ways. Not that I think I'm better than anyone, not that I think I'm even smarter than everyone. Like, this isn't going to be some big truth video where I know everything. Like, here's what's going on with Game Freak and the Pokemon Company. Here's what they're not telling you. Wake up, sheeple! I'm not going to do that. Instead, I would actually say that there are lots of things that I don't know myself, which kind of is one of the reasons why I'm upset right now with the Pokemon series. So I really just want to get my thoughts out there, because I don't feel like my specific views are being shared by anyone in the exact way that I feel about them. And let me say also that if you enjoy Sword and Shield, I know the games have been out for, it feels like a while now. It's only really been a week or so, but if you got Sword and Shield, you like the game, you thought you would like the game, etc., that's fine. I'm not going to take that away from anyone. I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to judge anyone because they enjoy. I mean, there are some things that I don't like within the Pokemon community. There are some things that I will judge people for. On both sides, mind you. Like, I think that both people who are defending Sword and Shield are wrong about things, and people who are criticizing them are also wrong. In fact, I'm just upset with everyone. That's really why I'm kind of making this. I hate everything that's going on. Anyway, what I was trying to say is that if you actually have good faith in these games and you just wanted to play them, then that's fine. I'm not going to judge you for that. You're allowed to like things. So one thing that I want to clarify is that you might have guessed, but I'm definitely not a fan of the removal of the national dex, aka Dexit. But this is not my only reason, and there's so much wrong with this issue in particular, because so many people think that all of the discourse within the Pokemon community, it begins and ends with the national dex. That is absolutely not true. That is not true at all. There are so many things that people dislike about the Pokemon series, or maybe not dislike, but let's put it this way. Like, yes, Dexit was the ignition, but before that, we needed to have lots and lots of burnable material. It's not as if Dexit didn't happen, Swish would be these amazingly perfect games and we'd have no problems whatsoever. There are lots of people, and I myself kind of fall into this category, but there are lots of Pokemon fans who think that the games have been decaying in quality. There are lots of people who believe that the 3DS games, both Gen 6 and 7, were not really up to the same standard, up to the same quality of Gen 5 and before that. Lots of people criticize the 3DS games for having very obvious technical and graphical limitations. And lots of people criticize the 3DS games for being lacking in content compared to Gens 3 through 5, particularly post-game content. And with Pokemon moving onto a main home console for the first time, being a fully priced game, I think that lots of people saw this as an opportunity for Pokemon to be making some serious progress. Especially with two of Nintendo's main franchises, Zelda and Mario, getting these huge, amazingly critically acclaimed games that are really defining this generation. And even recently, the new Fire Emblem and, of all things, Luigi's Mansion are getting a lot of acclaim. But Dexit is just another symbol of the main Pokemon games just being kind of regarded as these, like, I don't know, not necessarily sideshows, but like things to not really take all that seriously as games. Like, it feels like the last few Pokemon games have been made with the intention of you just pick it up, don't really think about it, and just have a nice pleasant time. You play it for like 30 hours and then you put it down and never speak of it ever again. And if that's how you enjoy Pokemon, that's fine. Lots of people actually said that that's kind of what Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee were like, and they enjoyed it. You know, that's fine, but that is definitely not what I want Pokemon to be. And Dexit itself might not be such a problem if there were other things to make up for it. Like, let's say they do remove the National Dex, but then you could put like 60 hours into the main campaign. I mean, if you really want to go through it quickly, you could put like 10 or 20 hours into it, but they added a bunch of side quests. It's a huge region. There's a huge amount of Pokemon you can get. The new battle mechanics or whatever features of the game are really in-depth. It's just a really great game that you can put a lot of time into. And, you know, we can just say, oh, you know, we didn't need the National Dex to have fun. But are Sword and Shield really so much bigger and better than the other games? That doesn't seem to be the case. Swish just seems to be another entry in the Pokemon franchise and not really a step forward. It doesn't look like Swish are these really amazing titles that are really transforming the Pokemon series and improving it in big ways. Yeah, I do acknowledge that there are good things that these games have brought to the table, but again, did the National Dex really have to be removed? And regardless of what the reason for this actually was, you can't deny that Game Freak has handled this in just a terrible way. Number one, they didn't even mention this to Japan for the most part. I don't know if they had. Japan has probably figured it out by now. The games have been out for a week, and, you know, they use the internet. But their excuse is that they wanted to improve the graphics of the game, the animations. Well, I don't really think that Swish has good graphics. I really don't. I mean, as usual, we're going to say that it's fine for Pokemon. Yeah, sure, it's not really that good for a console game, though, in 2019, that you're paying $60 for. If the reason for removing Dexit was because of the Dynamax feature, well, I think Dynamaxing is terrible. I think it's a really bad feature. That's probably why they got rid of Megas and Z-moves, all for Dynamaxing. Well, I think Dynamaxing is way worse. And I've also seen them say that removing the National Dex was to balance the game a little better, which I don't really get, because number one, National Dex is mostly post-game. If this is a matter of VGC, well, there are plenty of countermeasures to that they've been doing in the past, and I don't know, did they really balance the game all that well? Because there are lots of Pokemon like Delibird that are still just absolutely useless. I don't know, I just don't buy it personally. So if the main Pokemon games are not really going to make a whole lot of improvements, and then they're going to take away some other things that people are attached to, then yeah, this really was the final straw for a lot of people, including me. Like, personally, I really did not like Ultra Sun and Moon. Regular Sun and Moon was fine. I like Regular Sun and Moon, but those games had quite a few problems, which Ultra absolutely did not fix. If anything, Ultra Sun and Moon were just outright worse. Those games are DLC packs, like extra boss battles, a few additional Pokemon you can find, and a few extra features, which should have been like a $10, maybe $20 DLC pack. Instead, it was disguised as a $40 game. I really did not enjoy it all that much. I felt bad about buying it. I really regretted buying that game. So I really wanted the next big Pokemon game to answer. I really wanted them to kind of win me over again because I felt burnt out by this, and this isn't it.
And I know you might be saying, but Game Freak has always been making releases like Ultra Sun and Moon. They make the main games first, and then they do an improved version of them later on. Just because Game Freak has been doing something for a long time doesn't mean that it's a good thing.
Now, I know lots of people try to justify the National Dex being removed because National Dex is post-game. And so, when you get the National Dex, there's not really a whole lot you can do with those Pokemon, which is a terrible argument because that just exacerbates the issue of having no post-game. I mean, if anything, it's even worse this generation because now you can change natures. Like, now that we can change natures, we can finally make whatever Pokemon we want competitively viable. You can now actually train up your starter Pokemon so that it can be brought into VGC and have the EVs, the IVs, and the natures, like everything fine-tuned for competitive play. These things would be so amazing to use on all of those old-ass Pokemon that we've been carrying around for generations. And I brought up Ultra Sun and Moon because one of the most memorable things about that game for me was that I brought in my shiny Braixen from Pokemon Y, and I took it into the photo studio and took some snazzy photos with it. I didn't like Ultra Sun and Moon, but I loved being able to do that. I loved going through the Rainbow Rocket with my old Pokemon, with Pokemon like Hydreigon and Volcarona. That was fun. I know that's such a small thing for such a big game, but it's these little things that add up that make us really attached to this series. That's why we really like these games so much. It's all of the little tiny emotional things that, just they all add up. And removing the National Dex just subtracts them. And what's probably the most frustrating thing about this for me is that I understand that these are not easily solvable problems. I understand that Pokemon is such a big franchise that they're so weighted on these games. These games are so important. They can't just not make these games. And if it's a case of making the games better, well, how exactly do you do that? Like, I don't know. Is it really as simple as just hiring new people? Can you hire new people like that? I really don't know. So the games just can't be delayed like some people are saying. They can't. It's too important. With these games comes a whole new anime series. Like, I know you might think it's easy to just delay a game and say, oh, come out later. It's not as easy to do that for a long-running kids show on daytime television. And then there's also all this merchandise, the trading card games. Like, there's so many things that are tied to these games. You can't just put them off as much as we can go right up to Game Freak's door and just knock on it, bang on it, scream at them all we want. They can't delay the games. They just can't. There's no magic solution that's going to make all of this go away. Lots of people are saying that Junichi Masuda should be removed. Yeah, go ahead. Remove Masuda. That's not going to do anything. Like everyone's blaming Dexit on Masuda. It's pretty naive to think that such a big series can be changed so drastically by one guy. He has said himself that the decision to remove the National Dex was made by him along with Nintendo and the Pokemon Company. Everyone is in on this, guys. This is not the decision of one guy. It is the entire system that is allowing this to happen. That's why it's so frustrating. Like, I honestly don't really know what Masuda does at this point. Like, I think that he's just kind of a scapegoat, a mouthpiece for the series. Like, anytime something's going on with the Pokemon series, he talks about it, yeah. And then he gets blamed on for lots of things, but and listen, I'm not like a huge fan of the guy. I'm really not, but I don't think removing him is going to help anybody in this situation. I really, truly don't think anything good is going to happen from getting rid of him. At the very least, it's not going to bring back national decks. It just doesn't work that way. Even if they were to somehow, like, let's say tomorrow they remove Masuda, and then like the next Pokemon game to come out, they say, oh, we're going to bring back the national decks. It's not going to, like, there's no correlation there. That's just a coincidence. So what do I got? What's my solution to this? Well, I don't know. I don't have one. That's kind of why I'm so frustrated. That's like all I feel I can do. Just scream. Just scream as loud as I can. Hope that someone hears me and something will happen about it. I guess. That's just my selfish desire. Because even if I am angry and upset about Swish, these games are doing numbers. I'm one guy. I'm obviously not really making an impact. What I want overall is for Pokemon to just be better. If there was one thing that I'm actually disappointed with in other people, it's that I feel like the Pokemon community just has too much goodwill, and we're just too easy, too forgiving, which is kind of like why we're in the position where we are, where lots of things are being taken away and more and more people are getting upset about it. Like, back to what I was saying about Ultra Sun and Moon. I understand that those aren't really new games, but they still have new content. I'm someone who played the original games and I want to see what this new content is. I shouldn't have to buy another copy of the game to do that, though. I mean, tons of other games will come out at launch as they are, and then a year or two later there will be another version of that game released. But that version is just the game with all of the DLC and all of the updates that they've added to the game since that launch. Like, if you want to just buy the new content for that game, you would just buy the new content separately and add it to the game. You wouldn't have to buy the game again in order to get this extra content, this additional content. And I think there are lots of diehard Pokemon fans that just kind of blow the improvements made with each game out of proportion a little bit. Like, look, Swish, they have done some good things. I definitely acknowledge that. I like Pokemon Camp, seems pretty cool, but I see people getting really excited for things like autosave. Like Game Informer put out a whole, I mean, not like a whole article necessarily, but like, at least a page at being like, oh, autosave is in Pokemon Sword and Shield. Like, wow, pat yourselves on the back, everyone. You put in a feature that has existed in video games forever. Like, why is that such a big deal? Why do I need, like, yeah, I'm gonna put down $60 because I can't autosave in Pokemon Red. Yippee. Yay, everyone's excited that you can skip the catching tutorial in this game. You could have done that in Gens 1 and 2, but alright. The big RPGs nowadays, they're not really about telling a big story over a long amount of time. They could be, but for the most part what I see is that they're about letting the player do what they want. They're about letting someone, if you want the story to last 10 hours, you can do that. If you just want to play the game for a little bit and then put it down and not really see it ever again, you can do that. Also, if you want to, get everything out of it and play it for 60 hours, and I don't mean like, you play the story for 20 hours and then you go around filling out your Pokedex for 40 hours, that's boring, no one does that. I mean like, actual side quests, other battles, more character development, more world building overall, just more things to do in Pokemon, and you could get like a 60-hour game if you really desired that. I think that alone would be so much, if Pokemon had proper level scaling so that you wouldn't have to worry about, either grind, you could play the gyms in any order, you could, I don't know, do all sorts of things. I feel like there's so much that Pokemon can do. Like I don't think that every single new game has to have the exact same formula as all the other ones, or even, like Sun and Moon, which, change things up a little bit. Actually, I would say a considerable amount. I like the different things that those games did, but But even still, it's relatively the same. Again, there are so many little things about Pokemon that you can just change around, you can add, you can improve upon. There are so many things that this great series can be doing, and they're just going to take the easy way every single time. They're just going to make the same game every year, and everyone's just going to accept that. That's kind of the reality of it. And honestly, if that's the way it is, then I guess I'll just quietly sit this one out. I don't feel like I need to play these games to enjoy Pokemon. I love Pokemon not just for the games. I think the Sun and Moon anime is not only the best Pokemon anime, but one of the best anime I've ever seen. I'm already hearing amazing things about the new series. Pokemon Go, I think, is a pretty good game. I still love lots of other things about Pokemon. Like, I love the new character designs. Absolutely freaking fantastic designs for lots of the new characters. I like some of the Pokemon designs itself. I like Toxtricity a lot. He reminds me of like a PS2 platformer mascot, you know, like freaking, you know, Jak and Daxter or something, Sly Cooper. I love Phalanx. I think that's an amazingly well-designed Pokemon. And as evidenced by me making this video, I don't feel that I need to play Sword and Shield in order to be a part of the conversation. I feel like I can look at it from a distance and determine for myself whether or not I would actually enjoy playing these games. And listen, the thing is, I probably would like Sword and Shield at least a little bit, because I do enjoy the overall structure. Like, I enjoy Pokemon as a game, I really do. But once again, am I really going to put down $60 for another Pokemon game? Yeah, it's a new one, it's one I haven't played yet, but at the same time, I have so many Pokemon games already. Like, I'm replaying Y. I freaking love Pokemon Y. That game's great. The game's super overhated. I'm streaming a Nuzlocke of Emerald, absolutely loving it. One of my friends, Alexander, made a video about the Sinnoh region for Gen 4, giving me lots of nostalgia. I want to replay Gen 4 now, and listen, we're gonna get remakes of Diamond and Pearl. I'm not really excited for that, honestly. I really don't think that's going to work out as well as everyone wants it, as if everyone loved Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, even though I feel like nowadays the consensus opinion is that those were very flawed remakes. And I feel like the exact same thing is going to happen for the new Diamond and Pearl, that they're going to remake Diamond and Pearl and not the obviously superior Platinum. They're not going to make lots of necessary upgrades. It's just going to be Diamond and Pearl again with new mechanics, I guess. I don't know. If that's what you want, go ahead. Enjoy it. That's probably what's going to happen, and I'm not really looking forward to that, personally. Once again, though, I don't need to play these games to determine whether or not I'll like them. I mean, I'm not even trying to make objective statements that, like, these things are bad, the Swish is a bad game, and, like, no, that's not what I'm doing. I'm just saying that I don't want to play them. They're not for me, and I'm not really willing to, you know, spend all this money to determine whether or not I'm actually right about that. And you know what? If that sort of Pokemon game that I'm talking about, if that does happen, or even in general, if Pokemon just gets better, maybe with the next Sword and Shield, like a dynamic Sword and Shield, you know, if those make some quality improvements that I think are appealing, then yeah, maybe I'll get those games. Why do I need to play Sword and Shield right now to enjoy the Pokemon series? Just like I think that many issues with the Pokemon franchise are not black and white issues, I don't think that me saying that I don't want to play Sword and Shield right now means that I'm completely done with the Pokemon franchise. I'm never going to play a Pokemon game in the future, things like that. That's why I'm saying that these are my current thoughts. My current thoughts as of November or December 2019, whenever I actually post this thing. But there is one thing that I'll never forgive Pokemon for, and it's that they ruined my boy Snorlax!